lies.
Nipsey Hussle, dead, murdered. Now, the man accused of the murder on trial in Los Angeles. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter has more for us tonight.
March 31st, 2019, at about 3:20 in the afternoon, there was an explosion of violence at the intersection of Slauson and Crenshaw.
On this day, the acclaimed rapper Nipsey Hussle was shot and killed. Now the trial is underway for the man charged in the crime, Eric Holder. And two different arguments in this case have unfolded in the courtroom. The state says Holder's actions were premeditated.
The evidence in this case will clearly show, with absolutely no doubt, that Mr. Holder killed Hermes Astrodome and injured Carrie Lincoln and Sherman Williams. There's no doubt about that. You're going to hear the evidence that he had plenty of opportunity to think about what he was going to do before he did and did. And I make that point because we charge not just murder, but premeditated and deliberate murder.
The defense says this was a crime of passion.
So the heat of passion in this case relates to snitching, an accusation by Nipsey Hussle that Mr. Eric Holder Jr. was a snitch. That so inflamed and enraged Mr. Holder. The evidence will show that without thinking, and a few minutes later, here 9 minutes or so later, Mr. Holder returned and shot Mr. Astrodome. He did not have time to cool off.
In determining what the evidence shows, the jurors in this case will have to consider the testimony of Brianita Nicholson, the woman who drove Holder to the Marathon clothing store just before Nipsey was killed. Her testimony is flush with details that could help steer the jurors to a verdict that indicates whether this was premeditated or, in fact, a crime of passion. According to her, on March 31st, 2019, Holder wanted to get something to eat and go to L.A. At some point, they ended up at the Marathon clothing store with Nipsey. She says that at this store, she heard Holder and Nipsey have a conversation about snitching, though it's not clear if the word snitch was used. A previous witness, named Cowboy, said the conversation was about Holder being involved in some paperwork and that no one used the word snitch, though Nicholson says she did hear that word. And in her view, Holder approached Nipsey, but Nipsey tried to brush him off. She says Holder's reaction was to respond loud, but not in an aggressive way. Nicholson says Holder returned to the car and asked her to drive around the block. When she did, that's when she saw him put bullets into an automatic gun and told him, quote, "You ain't gonna shoot nothing by my car." In response, Nicholson says Holder put away the gun. But not long after, she ended up in the alleyway next to the complex. That's when she says Holder got out and told her to wait as he headed back in the direction of the plaza. Nicholson said she then heard 2 gunshots. When he returned to the car, Nicholson says Holder told her to drive. She says when she asked what happened, he said, "You talk too much. I'm gonna slap you." After all the evidence is in and closing arguments complete, it will be up to a jury to decide if this was premeditated murder or crime of passion.
From the time he got out of the car, to walk all the way back to that strip mall and walk up to those buildings and start shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting, clearly he had plenty of time for premeditation and preparation.
While he's charged with first-degree premeditated deliberate murder, in fact, it should be voluntary manslaughter.
Yeah, but if you went back to the car to load the gun and then went back again, that gives you enough time to premeditate the murder right there. That's not really heat of passion. Anyhow, a lot of talk about snitching. And you know the old cliche, right? Snitches get stitches. Well, let me tell you what happened today. Let's put it up on the screen. Statement from Aaron Jansen. Eric Holder was apparently attacked. Before he was brought to court yesterday morning, he was at a holding cell at MC Jail, and he was punched in the head in his cell, and that had 13 other people. He was punched in the head, cut with what he thought was a razor, and taken to the hospital. Holder did get an MRI and got 3 staples, and I guess he didn't get stitches. He got 3 staples in the back of his head. His left eye and left side of his face is swollen, and the interior of his eye is really red. 2 people attacked him. Holder had his head down, was getting rest, and was waiting to be transported when he was sucker punched. All right, how does this happen, and will this impact the murder trial? Let's bring back in our think tank, Eklund Mercy, Nima Rahmani, Kirk Nurmi with us. All right, Nima, you're the closest to the scene of this attack. How does this happen?
Yeah, Benny, I'm right here in LA County, and just another black guy for the sheriff's department here who is responsible for transporting inmates to and from court. But it really just goes to show how important snitching is in this case. I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, these 2 are the member of the same Rolling 60s gang over here, and the defense is, again, I'm not saying it's a good defense. I agree with you, it's premeditated, but that because of what Nipsey Hussle said, that provoked Eric Holder Jr., no relation to my former boss, the Attorney General, by the way, so much so that he caused him to shoot and kill Nipsey.
So, Kirk, will this impact the trial at all? The fact that in the middle of his trial, he ends up beaten up, his head is swollen. When next time he comes back into court, he's going to look a little different.
It might very well, not only from the aesthetics of it, but as Nima said, this is a pretty rock-solid case, and it's hard to advance the idea that there's going to be an idea of a heat of passion. But one of the things when we talk about head injuries, what's the first thing that's going to be on appeal? I had a concussion. I didn't understand what was going on. I wasn't able to assist my attorney in my defense. And if there's any visual changes, I look different in front of the jury so the jury could draw negative inferences from it. So if I'm the prosecutor in this case, I might try to back off a couple days and make sure that all those hurdles have been cleared before we go forward. Because if an appellate court, if there's evidence to support that, an appellate court attached themselves to it, this very well could be a case that needed to be tried again.
Eklund Mercy, you know, I started out talking about the cliche, snitches get stitches, and prosecutors, we don't call them snitches, we call them cooperating witnesses, or just witnesses, right? People see something, they say something. That's what we want. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised that, and I think they did have problems with one witness named Grandpa who sort of disappeared, but are you surprised that you're getting witnesses to come in and testify about what they saw and what they heard?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised about him getting his, him getting punched in jail, because that's what happened. That's what Scared Straight is there for a reason. This is what happens when you go to jail. You could still have white collar crime and somebody knocks the stuffing out of you. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. And it really doesn't, in criminal cases, unfortunately, especially if you have a black defendant, it really doesn't move the needle any type of way. As long as he is able to respond and his eyes are open and they're not bloodshot red or closed, I think it will not affect his case. With regards to snitching, I don't see it being the catalyst for a provocation, like heat of passion. I don't see, nobody has ever, oh, you called me a snitch. Like, I don't see that. I think what affects the defense is the fact that they went to LA to get something to eat, but ended up being at the marathon. So what are you eating at this clothing store? The shirts, like, it makes no sense. So I think that the defense I don't see it having any legs. It's really hard. And even with the injuries from the jail, the fact that he could still sit in court, it's not even an appealable issue. So that's just what I think.
So, Nima, give us some idea locally how this trial is playing. I mean, it was a huge deal when this murder took place. Impacted a lot of people. People were very upset. Do you think that is sort of translated into what is happening now inside the courtroom?
Absolutely, Vinny. This is a huge deal here in Los Angeles. And I mean, setting aside the Kobe Bryant murals, the next thing you see here in Los Angeles and all over are Nipsey Hussle murals. And people loved him. And there's a lot of interest in this trial. No, the judge hasn't allowed cameras during the entire part of the trial, just some of the opening statements, but folks are following it religiously. So there's gonna be a lot of pressure to return a guilty verdict. And even our DA here tends to be pretty soft. The fact that he moved forward with first-degree murder charges really says a lot, Vinny.
Yeah, some would have expected maybe a misdemeanor count for, something, but not. No, it's a murder. It's an actual murder.